Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Luke Beller. So today, what I want to do is take a look at Marcus Valdes-Scantling and sort of talk about why I believe he is a crucial part of this Packers offense, go through some stats and some areas where he really was one of the best in the NFL when it came to last year. Obviously, one of the biggest things for him that fans were frustrated with last year, myself as well at times, was, all the drops that he had last year. It seems that there are lots of moments where he was wide open, would have been like a 60-yard touchdown, and he ended up dropping the ball. So obviously that is something he needs to work on. But I think overall, when we sort of look at how he's developed over the past couple seasons, the steps he took forward in 2020, I definitely think he's going to continue to be a crucial piece of this Packers offense. If you guys are new here and you haven't subscribed, it would be awesome if you guys subscribe down below. I put out Packers news, Packers content at least 5 times a week typically. So if you guys want to see that, feel free to subscribe to the channel down below. So right here, as you can see, I'm on Pro Football Reference, and this is like the Packers wide receiver stats from last season. And there was no question, Davante Adams was probably the best wide receiver last year in the NFL pretty much. 115 receptions, 1,374 yards. And Marcus Valdes-Scantling was the second best guy on the Packers last season when it came to receiving yards. As you can see here, second to Davante. Robert Tonyan was a little bit below him. Lazard a little bit below him because he missed, like 5 or 6 games with injuries. So Valdes-Scantling had 33 receptions, 690 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So a pretty solid year from him. So if you come to look right here, you can see this is Marcus Valdes-Scantling, his stats for the past few seasons. So it comes in 2018, 581 yards, 2 TDs. 2019, 450 yards, 2 TDs. And 2020 comes in his best year yet in pretty much every area when it comes to yards, 690 yards, averaging 20.9 yards per reception. I want to touch on that in a second when it comes to the rest of the NFL. And then he had 6 TDs, so definitely his best year as well when it comes to touchdowns. So obviously we all know he struggled with drops last season. Here's PFF. They say that he had 7 drops last season, where in 2019 he only had 2 drops. So he really he struggled a lot when it came to drops in 2020. As you can see here, PFF gave him a 35.9 grade for drops, which definitely is not good. In 2019, he was at 65. In 2018, he was at a 56 grade. So it's definitely his worst year when it came to drops, but I feel like that's something that he's going to improve on coming into next season. And then here's the reason I think that he is a very, very crucial part of this Packers offense, and that is just his ability to stretch the field deep. When we take a look here at, this is PFF, this is ranked by yards per reception for receivers in the entire NFL. This is minimum targets of 10 targets. Marcus Valdes-Scantling was second in the NFL last year when it comes to yards per reception, barely behind Donovan Peoples-Jones. As you can see, Valdes-Scantling averaged 20.9 yards per reception last season. So one of the best when it comes to stretching the field deep, and obviously for the Packers, that was very crucial. Being able to have a guy there that has such blazing speed, is able to beat people deep, it definitely just keeps defenses honest because they can't, focus. I mean, you obviously got to focus on Aaron Rodgers. You obviously have to focus on Aaron Jones. And then when you have a guy like Marcus Valdes-Scantling, who is just such a lethal deep threat, even though he does drop it at times, he is such a lethal deep threat that you have to keep your eyes wide open for him. And that is what makes him, such a crucial part of this Packers team, or this Packers offense overall. And here's some pretty interesting stats from PFF. So this is measuring deep passes. So any pass that is 20 plus yards in the NFL. So every pass that Valdes-Scantling caught, or was targeted for that was over 20 yards, he averaged 53.4 yards per reception, and he had 4 TDs that were 20 plus yards last season. As you can see, one of the best in the NFL when it comes to producing on deep catches, deep throws. And obviously, with the drops he did have last year, where there are definitely a few where he could have easily, scored like a 50, 60-yard touchdown. Imagine if he's able to fix that drop problem just a little. If he dropped like 3 less balls, he caught those ones. That takes his yardage up a lot. It takes his TDs up as well. And I think that coming into 2021, with him, I think showing some progression this season, especially when it came to the end of the year, especially in that last NFC Championship game. He did a pretty solid game there. I think his stats are right over here somewhere in that game. Yeah, here we go. Right here, he had 115 receptions, 1 TD, and he had 0 drops, I believe, in the playoffs. Let me double check that. Yeah, 0 drops in the playoffs. So he was sort of moving in the right direction, and I think that coming into this next season for the Packers, he's going to continue to be that lethal deep threat. And now, of course, when we take a look at the Packers, wide receiver group overall, we have pretty much the same group from last year: Davante, Marcus Valdes-Scantling, Allen Lazard, Tonyan, and now we add Devin Funchess, who I'm wondering with him, what's he going to look like? He hasn't really played in the past couple seasons. So hopefully he can come in and, produce a little bit. And then, of course, coming in, adding third-round wide receiver Amari Rodgers, who I think is going to be an exciting, slot guy, special teams guy to watch coming into 2021. So overall, I think this Packers receiving core has gotten much better just by the additions of, Devin Funchess, Amari Rodgers. You add 2 more guys. So I think this Packers receiver group has lots of depth and talent now. And I think that MVS and Lazard coming into this next season with more experience, having to, carry more of a load in 2020 are just going to continue to develop. And of course, we got Devontae Adams, I'd say best wide receiver in the NFL. Maybe I'm a little biased being a Packers fan, but nonetheless, I think he is probably the best wide receiver in the NFL. So that's all I wanted to cover. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe if you guys have yet to subscribe. It would be awesome if you would. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.